LG Direwolves want to turn this one around and bring a victory. What do you think of the things they have to change?
Just fix those small misplays that happen throughout the game. Like, watching from a spectator's point of view, it's like really easy to pick up mistakes, but I feel like they really just have to focus on pushing the lead early and getting to that point of no return for NRG where they can't even slip back into the game.
I would really like to see Rowe played a little bit more passive. There were moments in time where you could see that little bit of I need to be the superstar for my team, start falling through, and that's how he ended up getting picked multiple times throughout that game at moments where they really couldn't afford being in a 4v5 scenario.
We'll save the picks and bans change for game number 2. We get right into it very quickly. Best of 3 series here between Ochita and the defending world champions NRG, adapting still rocking the F hat. Shouts to me, of course.
What if it's an R? That's just missing a leg.
I mean, I am going to take this one to the bank and say that he is rooting me on. Absolutely. That's what I'm going for 100%. LG Direwolves picked a Raven jungle. Something that I think we will see a little bit more here throughout the course of the weekend. However, it is a polarizing selection. Raven is a character that needs a lot of farm in order to be successful. Very poor character from behind, I think what a lot of people would say. What is your take on Raven jungle, and why didn't he work out?
I believe that it didn't work out simply for those little misplays that Rowe had, where they would win an engagement, secure an objective, such as, for instance, when they won the Gold Fury objective, and it was only Richard that had died initially. Okay, fine, you're trading out your support for an objective. Great.
Right. Yeah.
And then Rowe turns around right as he's exiting the mid lane from the more aggressive pathway, because it was the right lane side nearest to NRG's T1. And once he turned around, immediately just stomped on by the ISIS bots. And you can't afford to make those kind of mistakes on Rob, especially if you're opting for the Sunder early on, which means I want to do damage. And great, Robin can certainly do damage, but not when you're getting yourself CC locked out. So if he were to just tone it back a little bit, I think that the pick would have worked out great, because it provides so much damage. Like I mentioned, it does have the massive scaling, and when you put an aggressive jungler with a god that can do tons of scaling, you're usually looking in a pretty hot spot.
I mean, it's just like a Hercules. The ultimate scales at 100%, already doing 500 by itself, so such a strong character. And despite the fact that it did not exactly carry or do well in the last match, NRG saw the same glimmers that Direwolves had thought about when they selected it, so Raven actually gets banned out despite not having a positive KDA.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that selection either, because despite being behind, the root along with the Poseidon cripple inside of the Gem of ISO whirlpool, if anything, that makes it so difficult to escape from, which certainly wasn't in favor of NRG, and I don't blame them one bit for not wanting to deal with it.
Yeah, the Raven 2v2, the Raven Poseidon 2v2 in that game is pretty deadly, and getting caught out by that is something you do not want to do.
Sylvanus will be the guardian of choice for Direwolves, and Thoth will be the mid laner. I love this. I get angry when I see teams sort of take their star player and put them on a facilitator. When I see teams enable and empower their hard carries with gods that are similar to that description, I get very excited. And so to see Ochita, the guy who almost won last game on the Thoth, I'm a really big fan. But he will be going up against Susano and Poseidon.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of picked into the Susano there with the Thoth Sylvanus and the Poseidon, really. So far, this draft's looking pretty much in NRG's favor.
But the Cabrakan could definitely shake things up a bit, especially since that could be going towards the solo lane for Kiki. I would prefer to see it on Rowe, however, simply for the fact that it has the setup potential and it could prevent the Susano escape if the timing is right, as well as just the smork potential onto the Poseidon. That's what you really want, is somebody who can press W at a Poseidon and get away with it. Yeah.
That's certainly not something that every god can do.
The Thoth Cabrakan definitely is going to get pressure early, but I feel like they can have like a very deadly combo of not letting this Poseidon or the Susano out of that wall and just comboing off of each other. But I feel like if Rowe and Ochita play it right, they can win this 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the outcome, I will tell you that Poseidon in the mid lane will not have a good time Even if LG Direwolves wind up losing, Yammyn's going to be pretty angry at the end of the day after running against this composition. Terra and Kepri banned out by LG Direwolves, so it doesn't look like they'll be bringing Ao Kwang into the picture. Osiris and Hunbats banned out by NRG Esports. Hercules one more time. I absolutely think that is a fantastic selection. He was one of the top damaging players last game on the Herc. One of my personal favorite picks, and I think it's going to work out wonderfully for Direwolves with the amount of CC it brings.
But with NRG locking in that Athena, CC is certainly something that NRG is looking for. You have the taunt setup from Athena, you have the Susano pull-in setup, and on top of everything else, you've got the Poseidon to ensure that they can't escape it. When you combine that with the slows that Emil is going to be able to provide on the Hu Yi, positioning and not grouping, but still being together as a unit is going to be so imperative for Direwolves.
I'm going to rewind a little bit here real quick. Why do we see the Bellona first pick for Dimi here?
Dimi can provide a lot of team utility with the Bellona. She has so much set up, especially when her ultimate goes through and provides protections for her team. That is perfect team fighting scenario for NRG because they love going in as a unit. So when you put Dimi on a god that won't necessarily win the laning matchup, but help win the team fight scenario, that's what it comes down to, and that's what really matters.
So Bellona going to be a big presence in that mid game. Cupid, the hunter of choice, locked in for Mingyu here. Going to be a very interesting look last time around. He played something very different. Now Cupid, the ability-based hunter. We'll see how this one works out. Sporks, you feeling Direwolves?
Can't say no. I love the draft, so yeah.
I want to see this guy do a best of 3.
Yeah, I'm with these guys. I think that LG Direwolves absolutely can, but is it this game that they take to NRG Esports? Well, I'll ask the casters. It's Yuzi, and it's Handyman.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, heading into game 2 now. This draft from Direwolves a little bit different from last game, but you know, Rowe again not an assassin in the jungle.
It looks good on paper, but then you see the Poseidon on the side of energy, and you're like, well, Sylvanus struggles against that, so does Thoth, so does Cabrakan. Hercules as well can't drive and strike away. And then Mingyu at the end, I like his pick.
Yeah.
For the simple reason is we're going to see fireworks in the duo lane again. Because him and emilitoo are going to fight all day. Hoyi is one of the best fighters in the duo lane in terms of boxing potential, and Cupid is almost his equal, if not better.
Mingyu now, last time he was Ram, very much single target damage. Cupid now, big area of effect, even with his harp on, but his Fields of Love ultimate as well can really turn a team fight. In the previous game, he was doing a lot, you know, one-on-ones, he was taking single targets down well, and his ultimate, he was finding the shots. Now with the Cupid that he can influence more of the fight, how's that going to affect Direwolves' performance?
Well, you talk about it affecting the fight, but the problem is when you look at Direwolves' composition here, who's the engage?
It's the Cabrakan.
Outside of the Cabrakan, where's the next engage?
So Sylvanus with Blink, maybe?
You're telling me a Cabrakan that's got Meditate at the start of the game instead of maybe Blink if he's going to be the only engage for this team? Or is it going to be the Cupid that's going to have to fight Fields of Love to set up a fight? That's a problem that Direwolves have here, is they have no real setup. They're going to rely on Cabrakan running at people to set them up. So you're looking for picks. You're not looking for big old AoE team fights. You're looking to find a member of energy out of position and try and find a win that can snowball it into more.
But what it's showing to me is that they're looking towards the late game now. You know, last game they had a team comp that was, you know, good for getting picks early, or
That's
good
true.
for, you know, finding the fights early. Now with this Cupid pick, you know, they've got the early fights, they've got the early picks with the Cabrakan and the Hercules and things like that. Now towards the late game, though, they're going to have that team fighting presence.
And the big key for energy is the mid game is where they will shine as a composition here. Direwolves actually do very well in the laning phase across every single lane. That's why you can see that energy have gone and started their red buff at the beginning of this game, while Direwolves pushed in a full wave to the tower and looked to steal away the purple, but instead, energy want to fight and a ricochet to castle.
Oh, Mingyu's in a lot of trouble now, but he does get the stun off on the harp on. Beads from emilitoo, though. Gonna pick up the first blood there for energy.
And that was just them getting level 2 ahead of their opposition. emilitoo did back harpies into red. Rowe on the right-hand side has also been picked. It's disaster right now for Direwolves.
Oh.
Not enough.
Bluestone Tick's not going to do it there for emilitoo, but I don't know, maybe Direwolves are still feeling themselves too much from last game. Maybe it's a little bit of tilt even, Hindu.
I know not necessarily tilt, just how the beginning of this game started, at least in the duo lane there. They tried to answer back what energy were doing was stealing their own jungle. Now Ochita's rotated rotate around trying to defend this left-hand purple buff, and I believe he does so well.
Yep, he does secure that buff for the side of LG Direwolves, so that's at least a little bit of a win here. Red buff is started up, however, as a full wave gets pushed into tower.
Hello, Direwolves. Is anybody going to come and stop this one? Ochita's still here. Dual Lane deciding to farm instead, but that's good enough, I guess. Ochita's able to just stand there and stop NRG from getting any more farm from the jungle.
I'm surprised that NRG didn't really commit to that one. But that means they are going to get priority on these Oracle Harpies, which they really prioritize. We saw that a lot through the Gauntlet, that their first kind of 7 minutes of the game was really focused around these objectives, and that was something Direwolves were able to take away from them in the last one.
But look at the pressure that they had in the mid lane there, with Ochita sticking around at the red buff. Right hand side, though, a lot of pressure onto Kiki.
He's taken a lot of damage here, forced away under tower and adapting. Pre-level 5 hitting this solo lane, trying to get Dimi a little bit of relief after last game where he really struggled against Kiki, and Dimi actually dashes forward there into the Earthbreaker and picks up the solo kill. Well, kind of a solo kill on Kiki.
You heard F-Dot on the desk asking a little bit earlier on about why is Bellona being first picked here. The one thing that Bellona brings is so she's actually good at every stage of the game. Early game's pretty solid, mid game's pretty solid, late game's solid as well. Difference is in the dual lane now, sorry, in the solo lane now, Hercules is the one that's at a deficit. He's a level down. How can Kiki respond?
Well, the thing about Hercules is that even if he's behind, he can't go full run to the middle of the team and just survive. But he's still relevant because he has a lot of CC, and the Boulder is still a very good ultimate, so he can still stay relevant. But we saw Dimi do that in the last game as well, so I don't think Kiki's going to be terribly worried about that.
Not at the moment, no. But then if he's going to try and get into these team fights, deal with the whirlpools, deal with the taunts coming out, he's not going to have the survivability to be able to get off his abilities in the first place if they do change CC him well enough. We'll see how he plays it out, though. He has equaled level 5 right about now. Demi hitting level 6 and has 2 of the 3 kills so far.
The biggest thing for me, though, is Rowe not being level 5 yet. Still level 4. He's fallen down. Adapting's ahead again. And Rowe is the one that this team runs through. He's the one that's making the shot calls. He's the one that's influencing the sides of the map. And if he's behind, if he's in a bad situation, it's going to be very, very difficult for Direwolves to do much. And Mingy there, excellent anticipation with a dash before Ratha even turned himself into lane.
Just read it coming. Meanwhile, Demi is going to make sure he puts a nice bludgeon damage onto Kiki there. Like Kiki's using the ultimate just to allow him time to go back to base another time. No teleport available for him, and that pressure is going to allow him to walk back to lane, not lose any creeps.
And Dimi as well, he's low health. He's got a decent amount of mana, so it's not as if he's going to be able to get the full wave onto tower before Kiki gets back there as well. It's not the worst situation, and this is something I was talking about a little bit in the last game, is that Kiki's really learning this solo lane now. Like, you know, he's been in this role since September. He struggled a lot early on, even within OCE, but now he's getting that experience. Now he's getting that knowledge of the matchups and of the lane itself.
And now in the jungle, you can see Dimi's able to pressure a little bit more. Rowe, who is still level 4. He should hit 5 off that wave on solo, but that means he has to surrender his speed buff. Meanwhile, Direwolves are caught.
Good Wrath of Terror there by Richard, so he doesn't get knocked out, but the Kraken's here anyway. No surviving this for the big tree. Rowe's in the middle of everyone. There's a final judgment, but it's not enough damage. Here comes the Defender of Olympus. Rowe's in a lot of trouble, but managed to get the stun away and keeps himself alive.
But notice what NRG do there. They get the speed buff, they find a pick, and then everybody starts backing away. And by everybody, I mean it's adapting, and I mean Yammyn. They leave that fight. They don't hang around any longer. They dump their load and leave, and then meanwhile, Direwolves can't pick up anything in response.
Kiki there actually manages to secure his own blue buff, but it's going to be at the cost of his life here.
That's not worthwhile whatsoever. He's behind anyway, he's not very tanky, and now NRG are 5-0 up, looking at the Oracles at the same time with Yammyn picking them up, and with, as well, emilitoo rotating over. They could even look towards the gold if nobody approaches. They won't for now.
Yeah, the Kraken's not up. Mingyu still has his ultimate. I mean, emilitoo does have his ultimate as well, but I think it's just they don't want to risk it. They just want to play smart.
They don't need to right now. At the moment, Direwolves are just not being able to answer back anything NRG's done this game. There's around a 4,000 gold lead approaching that right about now already, at less than 6 minutes in.
It's just kind of a tale of 2 different games here. The last game, Direwolves were up early. They were getting all the pressure. Now it's NRG doing that.
And it comes back to the beginning, how the beginning of the game started for the duo lane as well, because none of the lanes actually won at the beginning of the game. Rowe gets picked up on the right side early. That puts him behind in the jungle. The duo lane, looking to aggress into the purple buff and stop NRG doing their own jungle, actually came back to haunt them and gave kills over to emilitoo, which then makes emilitoo's boxing potential a little bit stronger than that of Cupid because he's got that advantage.
Do you think it's been, you know, the Direwolves falling and being a little bit worse this game, or is it just NRG starting to wake up?
A bit of both. I think it's a definitely a cross between the both. I don't think there's anything different really coming out of Energy too much so far. They've just started being aggressive more early.
There's the final judgment, but the Kraken does more damage. Rowe's going to fall down. Richardcastle very low here as well. He's getting chased down, and Adapting's going to get a double.
And now it's more pressure for Energy in the mid lane. Now, after this wave clear, they could head towards Gold Fury because at the same time, emilitoo has pressure in the dual lane, but Adapting was looking towards the speed, which isn't available right now. They will clear out the wards, and that was iRaffer just wanting that 50 Gs. That's what that was.
Yeah. Mingyu. emilitoo's going to jump on him here. He doesn't get the ricochet. There's the Fields of Love. Mingyu, though, no mana to get away from it, but the hearts come out to save his life.
Okay, emilitoo, but hang on a second. Ochita is rotating over on the Thoth. He could look for emilitoo knowing the leap is down, but won't go for it. A little bit worried about rotation. That was emilitoo trying to be fancy with the triple shot. That's all it was. He wanted to hit the triple shot onto the back of the head of Mingyu and pick up the kill and just show him, hang on a second, listen, you did all right game one, but calm your socks down now, son. We're on the world stage here.
He's the world's MVP as well, so, you know, he maybe felt a little bit disrespected by how aggressive Mingyu was playing in the last one, you know, rolling into him, taking the one-on-one fights, but now emilitoo saying, you know, this is me, this is my hoe. Did you see that triple bounce I got against Rival?
Keep an eye on this speed buff now, because I like the fact Energy are looking to invade again. 4 members stronger Dire Wolves. Very tanky lineup they have here to defend, but they need to get here soon.
Ochita throwing out some damage, but the speed buff falls down very quickly there because Adapting's got so much damage online. Torn into the Whirlpool here. Ochita getting some damage out, but it's not going to be enough to really do too much to Energy, and Energy just really having their way in this jungle.
Good pull from Castle, but iRaffer has his dash available just to walk away from that one. Meanwhile, Rowe, different story. Level 6, in comes Dimi. Won't find the kill with the Eagles rally, though.
All they did there was they saw Direwolves coming there, and they backed out of the fight, and we didn't see that from Direwolves in the last one, and that's what really cost them the game.
Well, to be fair, Direwolves got very lucky. Then Yammyn's Kraken was on cooldown. If that was available after that 2-man Whirlpool taunt, would have been a different story with potentially another 2 lives going down.
Red buff is going to be spawning for the Direwolves over on the left-hand side, but emilitoo's here to contest this one. He's got the mark down onto Rowe, but the red's going to fall the way of the Direwolves, but I thought Rowe might have been picked off again, and if he's going to be 0-3 to 8.5 minutes in the game, how much can a Cabrakan really do?
And the problem is if the front line does get behind of Dire Wolves, they have 3 frontliners here, Sylvanus, Hercules, and the Cabrakan. If they all get behind, then the back line like this is just left at the mercy of Energy's deep damage dealers.
And that forces out the beads there from Ochita, so Adapting's going to be calling that one very worth indeed. Adapting's been the one for Energy for me that's been really good over both these games that has stepped it up. Kraken coming out from Yammyn, and that's going to be another pick there onto the Sylvanus.
And this is just what happened in the picks and ban phase for me. Direwolves picked up Thoth and Sylvanus in the first 2 picks. Then Poseidon gets locked in from Energy, and it's like, well, you're giving Yammyn to Poseidon. You may better avoid him, because if not, the Whirlpool Krakens will come out. And the fact that iRaffer has brought Athena back into play once again is allowing for even more situations for this to happen, because you want beads to avoid the taunts and the Whirlpools, but you want Aegis to stop the Kraken damage.
I think every so often, you know, Athena comes back into the meta because people forget how to play around her, and I think that's kind of happening now. And this might be one of those picks that really influences how this land goes. It might be something that like day 3, day 4, we're seeing first ban.
Definitely, there is always a land meta. I mean, if Energy are coming into this land right now and saying Bellona is our first pick option for him, then it's going to create a potential land meta where we see that band away. Mingyu got lucky the second shot, that ricochet didn't hit, but once again, emilitoo's just showing his dominance in this lane.
Yeah, he's just, you know, putting his big boy boots on, and now we see Richardcastle rotating in, but, you know, he's not going to find anything there as Mingyu's going to clear up all the farm. There are some buffs for him to get, but Direwolves really far behind in golden experience at this stage.
Yeah, and this next Gold Fury is actually critical for them right now. They do need to find this Gold Fury to Direwolves. They can't give it over to Energy for free, because if they do, there could be trouble.
Mingyu here, getting caught within the Suns, but the Fields of Love is going to stun out emilitoo.
Mid lane, different story.
Mid-lane.
Cabrakan's in trouble. Kraken comes out. Rowe still alive. Adapting was tanking up most of that. Now it's Yammyn's turn. Richardcastle comes to the rescue a little bit to stop the dive on Direwolves. But Hughesy, that doesn't relieve the pressure on the Gold Fury.
You know, the Gold Fury is going to be pretty much free here for Energy, and in a few fights' time, especially after this Gold Fury, instead of members of Direwolves getting out on low HP, they're going to be falling down, and it's going to be even more bad news. Richardcastle pokes his head in, but you can't do that against Energy. They're just going to turn straight on you, and iRaffer gets his second kill of the game.
Meanwhile, Dimi's doing speed buff, drawing attention there, as Energy will get a free Gold Fury in this side. This lead is getting out of hand right about now, and this is what happens with Energy now and again. When they do turn it on, they can turn it on nastily. I feel this is picks and bans more often than anything else.
Yeah, I'm really feeling for the Direwolves here. You know, they had such a great performance in Game 1, and just everything's going wrong in Game 2.
Yeah, the solo lane not doing well at the start. Kiki was off to a fantastic tear at the beginning of the last one, which got Direwolves into good stead. Then the dual lane was staying equal with Energy in the dual lane, but then Game 2, both those lanes go reverse.
Solo lane. Dimi's level 12, but he doesn't have a second relic. But he still does have that experience advantage over Kiki. This Bellona pick, you know, in the last game, it got off to a slow start, but you said earlier, it's good at all stages of the game, and we saw even in kind of these mid-game team fights where we were still 3 levels down, the Eagles rally was such a potent form of CC, and I think one thing that's unappreciated about that is the protections that ultimate gives.
It's not just the Bellona, but it's also the build options available. With the Mystical Mail, that it was Deathwalker that started to bring it back in again, as well as the Mark of the Vanguard, which looks very awkward, but when you look at the amount of dot damage the enemy's got, it can cause some problems. Dual lane, emilitoo, gonna eat a hard bomb, but he's not too worried right now up against Mingyu, even though they are still equal level, which is credit to the Direwolves Hunter.
Yeah, Mingyu, I really respect how aggressive he's been able to be. Oracle Harp is going to fall to energy, but as I was saying, you know, Mingyu, he's died once, he's been behind in this lane, but he hasn't been afraid to still take fights with emilitoo, who still hasn't been afraid to play up a little bit.
Sure, and if he can actually keep iRaffer's attention in this lane, it will relieve a bit of pressure onto Ochita in mid. He's level 9 on this Thoth right now. Look at the itemization between him and Yammyn. Yammyn has a Spear of the Magus over this Thoth in the mid lane. That's how much of a lead NRG have on each of their players basically right now.
Kiki was actually forced to teleport here into the mid lane as Dimi's rotated in as well. Ochita trying to find a stun there onto adapting, but look at this energy circling like sharks. Great bounce there from emilitoo. Is going to get a lot of damage off here early. Sylvanus is going to be able to heal. Final Judgment comes through, but hits no one. Kraken comes out and eats the Hercules. Kiki falls down. There's a Whirlpool coming out now, and it's all falling apart from the Direwolves.
Adapting just sat at the back line there, making sure Ochita couldn't do nothing in that engagement whatsoever. He's chipped down to below 20% health now, and with the threat of Adapting coming in one more time, they've got to fall back and give up a tier 2 as well. Only Mingyu is here, and he's going to be careful about the all-in as well.
Tier 2 tower's going to fall down. Yep.
You can see it, head in hands right there. This is an awkward position for Direwolves, especially after how good game 1 was. It's back to the drawing board for Australia in game 2.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it came down a lot to these picks and bans and the prioritizations that they had, and giving Poseidon to Yammyn.
Don't know what the rush was to pick up Thoth there whatsoever. Thoth didn't necessarily have to be picked straight away. If we see energy go for it, there's plenty of other mid laners there. Yep. If it was part of a composition they were looking for, sure, that makes some sense. But then they also picked up the Sylvanus alongside it, and if you do pick up those sort of drafts, you've got to be wary about what will beat both the picks you pick up at the same time. Example here, Poseidon, who is 7,400 damage, second on the boards right now. And then you've got Adapting, who's equal level, who's having a fantastic game as well at 4-0.
He's having a fantastic series overall. Kikiomeo taking some damage. The meditation is going to help him out there, but again, energy just invade the Direwolves jungle, and Direwolves, even with a man advantage, have to back away.
But Hughesy, you talk about that, the meditation was used by Direwolves for nothing. What did energy use? Normal abilities. There was no ultimates that came out of the engagement. A little bit of a skirmish. Now Mingyu could be in trouble.
Here's the mark, and he's stunned out. He's forced to burn the beads and the Aegis as well, but too much damage online. Fields of Lump comes out. iRaffer's just going to stand in it because he knows it can't hurt him.
And that's going to be a free tier 1 on the left-hand side, potentially. Kraken on the right will delete Richardcastle. Rowe will follow up soon after with Adapting getting credit for that kill. And Kiki just wants to find the quickest way back down under.
This looks like one of Direwolves' games against other Oceanic teams, honestly. And it's going to be a rough situation for them because they don't know how to deal with it. Kiki trapped within 4 people here. Driving strikes back, gets the boulder out just to pad his stats. But Yammyn gets himself another kill. And this has been a perfect game from NRG.
It's been a good game from NRG overall. The start is where they began things. I like their patience in certain situations too. The fact that Adapting just waits around the back patiently, didn't initiate, waited for the correct initiations and the dive to really be committed before he showed his presence. And the moment he does, he's looking for the carries. Most of the time we've not seen Mingyu be able to rotate over to these team fights, so he's been hunting this man on your screen now, Ochita, supposedly the best player in Oz. Well, you found a trip home there.
Well, it's the first death for him. So he's been the last one to die on his team, so I know he'll be holding that over him on the flight home.
Sure, but at the same time, he's still 0-0 and also 0-1 and 0 now.
Yeah.
Which, bad note to mention, I guess, is no kills.
Yeah. And, that's what I was saying, kind of about the perfect game for NRG. They haven't dropped a kill. They haven't, dropped any buffs. They've basically been in Direwolves jungle the whole time. emilitoo, they're misclick on the Aegis, maybe?
Could have been, and I don't think he would be too upset about that, I guess. He'll be fine for the time being if it's Adapting, but it wasn't Adapting, was it? Who you said?
emilitoo.
Oh, ML? ML's doing it for troll.
Yeah.
ML's a troll. We all know that. He put glasses on to try and look nerdy instead of trolley. That's all it was. You don't need glasses.
Left-hand side, tier 2 tower. Mingyu there, laughing because he knows that he can't save this tower. Wrath of Terror there, but it's not going to be enough to save Mingyu.
Good walls from Cabrakan actually to keep him alive for a second, but the sun's raining down, and the Kraken to follow it up. It was a Sharknado of destruction. In with the Eagles Rally goes Dimi, and the tree will not fall silently in the woods. The European world champions are looking to put the Australians to bed once more.
This is the energy we've come to expect to see. Torn in there from iRaffer onto Kikiomeo. He's going to fall down. It's only Ochita left alive. And one Phoenix falls down 16 minutes into a game, and we could be seeing the middle bird fall down as well.
It was a better performance from Australia, though, even though it doesn't look like it in game 2. Game 1 was a different story. That could have really gone either way. NRG did all the world champions, they've got their performance under the belts before, they've shown their experience and expertise, but Direwolves did put on a show in game 1. Different story in game 2, though, once NRG had really warmed up.
That double bounce off the Phoenix there that stunned Ochita from behind, that is just filthy there from emilitoo. Middle Phoenix is saved, though, from the Direwolves, so one positive note for them.
If Australia win this game, I'll do something crazy. I don't know what, but I'll do something crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah. You got any ideas?
I mean, you're coming to Sydney, so maybe you could take a swim in the harbour.
Why is the harbour that bad?
Yeah.
What's bad about it?
Sharks and stuff, man, and trash and waste.
Wait, there's sharks?
Yeah, man, it's
not
Australia.
Why would there be sharks?
There's every deadly animal there. We have like killer snakes and spiders and crocodiles and stuff and koalas with disease and things like that. You think we're not going to have sharks?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. To be fair, though, if you've got sharks, why are you still getting hit by the Kraken all the time in this game, then?
Well,
see? Look! That's a shark!
Yeah.
They've got them down under! Does he not know how to deal with him?
He's just smart enough to stay away from him in real life, but not in this game, apparently.
Clearly not.
20-0 energy, going to look for the gold for you here, and then, maybe for the Fire Giant, and then look to end the game, or they could just look to find a pick and end after this.
Probably will be the Fire Giant with the Portal Demon in tow as well. This is just energy making sure there's literally no window for Direwolves back in now. Take away every single objective you can, it just slows down Direwolves having a chance in. Look at that adapting now. Chasing down Warriors. Level 17 to level 13. That's a solo laner, by the way, who is level 13. He's not the highest level on his team, because that will go over to the Cupid, played by Mingyu. But Direwolves, unfortunate.
Fire Giant here, gonna fall to NRG. Unless there could be some kind of crazy steal, but no, it's going to be too late for the Direwolves. Kikiomeo going to dive in here, but really, he's just going to sacrifice his life. Boulder comes out, Wrath of Terror as well, but emilitoo picks up another kill. Fields of Love as well, but it looks like this is the end for the Wolf Squad.
Yeah, at this point in time, it looks like Direwolves have just given up the goose more often than not because they weren't even in position to defend properly. Some members went in, some members didn't, and some members of Ochita wanted to get some player damage off, and instead, take a tumble.
You gotta pad your stats, man, even in a loss.
I guess. If it helps out, you got a little bit more player damage. What does that put Ochita right now? 6k! Still below. Sylvanus is the highest damage on Direwolves.
That's just classic Richardcastle. Loves to be the highest damage on his team. iRaffer picks up Mingyu. It's only Rowe left alive. Gets a stun, but he's going to fall down. That's a deicide. Richardcastle spawns just as that metal ticks over. Middle Phoenix is going to fall, however, and it looks like NRG are looking to close this one out.
Game 1, Direwolves show they have the mechanics to face off against NRG. Game 2, Direwolves show that they need to work on their picks and bans to take on teams like NRG.
And this looks like it's gonna be it. Yammyn with the Shark, iRaffer with a kill of his own as well. Titan is gonna fall down here, and a clean second game.
Much better from NRG, and I think that's what you saw in their faces after game 1 as well, was how clear they were disappointed with themselves and their performance. Now they want to get straight off and straight back to sitting down again to watch the rest of the sets coming up.
And they actually got a tough opponent tomorrow. They've got Obey Alliance up there in the first quarterfinal.
That's a good point.
This is a team they're familiar with as well. This is a team that a lot of people are looking at as maybe potentially the best in the world now that NRG's kind of dropped off a little bit.
It's true, and with NRG's performance in game 1 there, Obey will be quite happy with themselves, I think, to be sat there like, well, okay, NRG's still not looking great. If we get off to a great start and find that first game against NRG, then we've only got to find 1 or 2 more.
What do you think is kind of the biggest thing for the Direwolves to take away here?
Biggest takeaway really is that game 1 they have the mechanics. That's it. They have the mechanics, but they've still got plenty of things to work on. But big improvements are there from Worlds.
All right, we're going to throw it over to the analyst now. Break down this one for us after a dominating performance by NRG.
Well, game 1 was certainly close. It looked like LG Direwolves might actually grab a win on the international stage for once. Unfortunately, their mid laner did make a slight mistake. One mistake in an entire game of a fantastic performance. That gives NRG game 1, and as the saying goes, you give the world champions an inch and they'll absolutely take a kilometer as they're from Europe. emilitoo and the crew came out in game number 2, and I mean, this is as lopsided as it gets. 27 kills in the NRG shutout, not a single tick of structure damage whatsoever.
It's really rough all around whenever you face up against a squad such as NRG. You're having such a strong performance in game number 1. It can be really hard to bounce back from that, and I think that's the storyline here for Dire Wolves.
Yeah.
They let it get to them, and it showed in their gameplay. It showed in their mentality. They were taking a team fights they shouldn't have. I think their drafting even fell into the hands of NRG. It seemed like a bit of a bait, and adapting Susano, I mean, we already know what to expect.
They lost the draft, they lost the fights, they lost, well, the game. Susano coming out here really intense, 13.5 kill death assist ratio here, dodging out even the Thoth damage.
And once you're getting online and starting to snowball on a god such as Susano, we saw the setup potential. It's already there, just completely punishing the Sylvanus Cabrakan picks time and time again, not permitting any sort of room for Richardcastle or Rowe to even breathe, much less move around and look for a comeback potential.
Yeah, just the pulls out of adapting so incredibly strong, pulling them right into the mid lane. Like I said, LG Dire Wolves lose the team fights, they lose the games, and they lose a sub. Nice little change of clothes there, Sporks.
Like I said, NRG easy wins.
Of course, that's exactly what he said the entire time, right?
The whole time.
The entire time. What do you have to say about your team?
I just feel like drafting was one of the biggest issues there. Picking the Sylvanus in the second round of picking, and then just them straight after picking Susano and Poseidon. That's just a 2v2 built to kill the Sylvanus. So I just think that, yeah, Sylvanus was never really going to make it past early game, and that's pretty much all that they can be said for that game.
Well, the shirt might be new on Sporks, but it's a shirt that emilitoo has been wearing for a number of years. The Hunter standing by with aggro.
Thank you very much, Tom. emilitoo, the Hunter for NRG, and this is a team that I think a lot of people expected you guys to just roll over. But game 1 was quite the competition there. Did they surprise you with their level of play?
I guess they surprised us a bit, yeah, but I feel like it was more of us fucking up than maybe them playing well. So
sure. Well, game 2 was pretty clean from you guys. Did you have to do it that bad? You know, did you have to really? Is that a statement win by you guys to be like, okay, we're here to play this weekend?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't too up after the first game, so I'm glad we stomped them like that the second game.
It was certainly a stomp without a doubt. You guys just spent the last week between the gauntlet and here in Washington, D.C. Talk to me about how you guys balanced, you know, seeing the nation's capital with practicing for this LAN.
It was like half the week we went to see like the whole city and all that, and the other half of the week we had like a mini boot camp. We played ranked, we just grinded, practice mechanics, and yeah.
Is that level of preparation similar to your other LANs? Did you practice extra hard for this LAN, or maybe, you know, saying at Spring Split we could take this one a little bit easier?
We put in all the effort for this LAN. I don't think anyone wants to lose this one, so we're gonna do our best to win it. Well,
you have a great matchup next up against Obey. How do you feel against that matchup? Because this is the team that you really dominated for the majority of Season 3, win the World Champions over them. But at the beginning of Season 4, they came out and beat you guys. How much do you want to win that matchup?
I think we all want to win versus Obey. I hope we can, but they're a really good team, so we're gonna have to play our A game, and yeah, we just have to give it all.
How different are they from Season 3 with, you know, the additions of emilitoo and Maniac? How much of a different squad is this Obey team?
I think they're way stronger now. They all seem to like clash together really well, and you can see it in the gameplay, and yeah, they're really good.
Excellent, man. Well, congratulations on moving on. Do you have any shout-outs you want to give before we throw it back over to the desk?
Shout-outs to all the fans and our sponsors, and Events DC for hooking us up with the bootcamp.
Awesome, man. Congratulations again. And we're going to look forward to that set with you guys later on this weekend, but we got one more to go here today. It's going to be iRaffer Gaming up against Black Dragons. Tom's on the desk with a couple other friends to break it down.